What's up guys, it's Endymion, and in today's video I want to discuss the loyal guardian of Queen Marika the Eternal, as well as his eventual downfall and possible betrayal. Of course this video will have spoilers, and I do want to state that we don't know everything definitively yet, but I'll do my best with what we do know, and then I'll finish with a theory. So now let's begin talking about the shadow of Queen Marika, Maliketh the Black Blade. Firstly, I want to explain what Maliketh's role in Elden Ring is and how he connects to the greater story. Maliketh is the shadow of Queen Marika. Simply put, a shadow is a guardian tasked with fulfilling the will of their master, and this will usually mean doing things like killing and ensuring the reign of their master stands unchallenged. Maliketh would hunt and kill any who opposed Marika, which in turn gave Maliketh his title as the Black Blade. Maliketh even fought and defeated a being known as the Dusk-Eyed Queen. The Godslayer's greatsword states, "Sacred sword of the Dusk-Eyed Queen who controlled the Godskin apostles before her defeat at the hands of Maliketh." So it seemed everything and everyone was terrified of Maliketh, as he would slay any who opposed his master, including this Dusk-Eyed Queen. I will get more into the Godskin apostles in a future video, so subscribe for that. Moving on, Maliketh is the half-brother of Marika, and his design depicts a massive beast-like creature clad in dark black armor. Although being feared by basically every living being in existence, Maliketh was not invincible, and all it would take is a single night to bring about his fall from grace. See, Marika wanted to ensure her rule over the lands between would be eternal, and since the Elden Ring holds the laws that the world abides to, Marika took the law of death itself out of the Elden Ring so that her reign and that of her children would be eternal and everlasting. Marika would entrust the rune of death to her shadow Maliketh, who took the rune of death and imbued it into his blade. Maliketh's Black Blade states, "Maliketh's Black Blade, which once harbored the power of the rune of death, a sad shadow of its former glory. After a fragment of death was stolen on that faithful night, Maliketh bound the blade within his own flesh, such that none might ever rob death again." Maliketh was dishonored by this failure of protecting the rune of death, and this all led to the shattering of the Elden Ring and the game's main story in turn. Maliketh was, however, still considered to be a fearsome shadow. Maliketh's helm states, "Beast's helm made of black iron and decorated with gold. Maliketh, Queen Marika's loyal half-brother, bore a blade imbued with destined death, and there was not one demigod who did not fear him. Champions knew what was at stake. Indeed, that is what made them champions." I love how Maliketh's armor set perfectly showcases what he is, as its color is jet black due to his role as the shadow of Marika, but it's outlined in regal gold to display his servitude to the golden lineage. It's just really cool stuff in my opinion. But after the fallout of the Night of the Black Knives, which led to Godwyn's death and the Shattering, Maliketh would bound his own blade into his flesh so no one could steal the Rune of Death ever again. This, however, would lead to Maliketh being slowly corrupted by the rune, and his hunger would become overwhelming, leading to Maliketh seeking out agents to feed him death root to sate his undying hunger. Ironically, the death root Maliketh would eat was the product of Godwyn the Golden, who was corrupted by the Rune of Death after his assassination, meaning Maliketh was literally feeding on his own failures. It was again an ironic twist of events that would plague those close to the golden lineage, like I've stated in previous videos. Maliketh would eventually become known as Gurranq, the beast clergyman, and imprison himself within the bestial sanctum in Caelid, where he would feed on the death root his agents brought him, and Maliketh likely kept himself in this sanctum to prevent his outbursts of hunger from killing others. This double life as Gurranq would lead to Maliketh developing various spells of faith called bestial incantations. Some of these spells give us insight into the meager existence Maliketh was living. The spell, Stone of Gurranq, states, "Superior incantation taught by Gurranq, the beast clergyman. Long ago, Gurranq was a beast of such terrifying ferocity that his former name meant death of the demigods. It seems that becoming Marika's shadow had uplifted Maliketh from his bestial upbringing, as if prior to becoming Marika's shadow, Maliketh was much more wild and free before his time as the Black Blade. This is detailed further by the spell Beast Claw, which states, "This incantation represents the fury of Gurranq, his bestial nature returned, as much as it does his restless agitation." So this makes me wonder if Maliketh's true name was actually Gurranq, and he possibly took on the name Maliketh after becoming Marika's shadow, since the Stone of Gurranq states Maliketh means death of the demigod, so it could be possible. Of course, I can't prove this, but let me know what you think of that in the comments. Although it does seem that the beastmen of the lands between were uplifted to some degree by either the Greater Will or Marika, as there seems to be traces of grace in their DNA. The crafting material Beast Blood states, "Fresh beast blood, glinting with gold, found by hunting carnivorous beasts. This glimmering blood never rots or decays." This servitude to the golden lineage can be seen in various ways within the game. If you look at Gurranq's bestial sanctum within Caelid, you can actually see the skeletons of beastmen propped up like statues. But the added detail of golden bracelets and necklaces almost bounding these beast corpses seems to signify that their service to the Golden Order was maybe not offered to the beastmen, but forced upon them instead. This theory is further strengthened by the beastmen enemies in Farum Azula, who, when you inspect them further, they have golden bracelets strapped to their thighs, stomachs, and even their arms. There's even dead beastmen placed in ritual-like display, and even in death with their flesh completely gone, their golden bracelets are displayed, signifying that even in death, their servitude to the Golden Order remains. This service to the Golden Order is even further strengthened when you see that the beastmen make up the majority of the enemies found within crumbling Farum Azula, which is the location of Maliketh and where the Tarnished is sent by Melina to secure the Rune of Death in order to have the power to slay the Elden Beast. There's tons of theories out there that Melina is to some extent connected to a being known as the Gloam-Eyed or Dusk-Eyed Queen, and as I stated earlier on, Maliketh defeated the Dusk-Eyed Queen for Marika, so if this is the case, then Melina sending the Tarnished to hunt down Maliketh to re-obtain the Rune of Death is in its own way a revengeful act long in the making. And within the heart of Farum Azula, the Tarnished can finally face off with Maliketh, and the fight starts off originally with the Tarnished facing off against Gurranq, but once proving to not be enough, Gurranq calls upon the power of destined death within the sword he bore eons ago, and becomes once again the fearsome Black Blade, Maliketh. The fight ensues, and it's easily one of the most challenging fights within Elden Ring by a long shot. But eventually, through many trials and errors, the Tarnished overcomes Marika's shadow and obtains the Rune of Death in its totality, allowing the Tarnished to finally enter the Erd Tree and slay the Elden Beast and become Elden Lord. Strangely enough, however, it doesn't seem that Maliketh dies in this encounter, because if you go back to the Bestial Sanctum in Caelid, Gurranq is still there. This is one of two examples that I can think of where a main story boss does not die by the Tarnished's hands. The first being Queen Rennala, who eventually allows the player to respec their stats, and now Maliketh. I guess you could say Morgott also doesn't die in his first fight against the Tarnished as Margit, but the Margit fight is not required, so really I would only count Maliketh and Rennala's fight in this instance. So it seems even after defeat by the Tarnished, Maliketh is not killed and is forced to exist, knowing his failure to Marika and the Golden Order. But there are those who think that Marika might have planned the shattering in the first place. The Remembrance of the Black Blade states, Maliketh was a shadow-bound beast given to his Empyrean. Marika's sole need of her shadow was a vessel to lock away destined death. Even then, she betrayed him. So it seems that Marika set up Maliketh and his downfall from the very beginning. but why? It's similar to Blythe and Ranni, who I plan to explore in a future video, but Blythe was like Maliketh, a shadow for his Empyrean. And when Ranni betrays the Greater Will by trying to usher in the Age of Stars, the Shadow's secondary function is revealed. Besides protecting their Empyrean, Shadows are somehow hardwired by the Two Fingers and the Greater Will that in the event the chosen Empyrean betrays the path the Fingers desire, their Shadow will be forced to seek out their Empyrean master and kill them. This may have happened with Marika at some point, because when the Tarnished reaches the Erdtree, an imprisoned Marika is found bound for her shattering of the Elden Ring. And if you look in her ribs, there seems to be a massive red blade-like object in her. This red-tinged spike is similar in color to a spell you can obtain by using Maliketh's remembrance called Black Blade, which according to the spell's description allows the caster to create an illusionary black blade imbued with the power of destined death. And once Marika drops down and becomes Radigan, the red spike-like object suddenly disappears from the stomach, which is very interesting. So did Maliketh try to assassinate Marika after the shattering? Was he forced by the Fingers but clearly failed? Or did he succeed and that's how Marika was bound by the Greater Will and suspended like she's found in the Erdtree? Did Maliketh succeed in subduing Marika? I have so many questions. Of course I can't prove this either, since we literally don't have information that could further allow definitive proof, but let me know what you guys think of this. But I think for now anyway, this about covers the story and betrayal of Maliketh the Black Blade. What do you think of this? Did Maliketh defeat Marika and bound her? Is the red spike his doing? Why doesn't Maliketh die after being defeated by the Tarnished? Let me know what you think in the comments below. And as always, thank you all for watching. The support has been amazing on my Elden Ring series so far. Let me know what you want to see next, and thank you to my patrons for their support. If you want to support me on Patreon, there is an option for $1 a month, so if you want to support my channel, you can do it that way. Thank you. And I'm Endymion. I'll have more lore videos in the future. I'll see you in the next one.